Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following PNQ address to the Honourable Prime Minister, whether in regard to the exercise of sovereignty by Mauritius over the Chagos archipelago, he will state where matters stand as to the negotiations for an agreement with the United Kingdom.
Speaker, let me first of all thank the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for giving me the opportunity to clarify matters on this issue, because lots of rumours are also going on. As the House is aware, on the eve of the dissolution of the National Assembly, that is on the 3rd of October of last year, Mauritius and the United Kingdom issued a joint statement confirming that after 13 rounds of negotiations, they had reached a political agreement on the exercise of sovereignty over the Chagos archipelago. Madam Speaker, immediately after I became Prime Minister, I received a letter from the British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Sir Keir Starmer, informing me that he proposes to send his special envoy, Mr. Jonathan Powell, to Mauritius to discuss these matters. I had a meeting on the 15th of November 2024 with local officials in order to take stock of the status of the negotiations between Mauritius and the United Kingdom. And because since the contents of the negotiations, which had taken place, that is, since November 2022, were unknown to the new government, absolutely unknown. So I immediately asked for an independent review of the confidential draft agreement that we had just been made aware of. This is why I asked also that Mr. Jonathan Powell delays his arrival in Mauritius so I have time to look at what was in the document. Madam Speaker, the British Prime Minister sent his political envoy, Mr. Jonathan Powell, to meet with me on the 25th of November 2024, and he briefed me on the situation to date. And I had told him that we were a bit surprised that the agreement was made on the eve of the dissolution of Parliament. We in the opposition were not aware of anything, and only what we could see, what was happening in the House of Commons. Anyway, following the completion, I said I have to look at the document, analyze it, and see what's in it. Following the completion of the independent review, the opinion submitted by the legal advisors was considered by an interministerial committee chaired by me and comprising the Deputy Prime Minister, the Attorney General, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade. Madam Speaker, following the letter which the British Prime Minister addressed to me on the 12th of November 2024, and the meeting which I had with Mr. Jonathan Powell, a delegation of senior officials from the United Kingdom came to Mauritius from the 9th to the 12th of December 2024 for discussions with the Mauritian authorities. Apart from meetings which were held between senior officials, that is from Mauritius and the UK, the head of the UK delegation also called upon me. During the discussions, Mauritius made it clear that while it was still willing to conclude an agreement with the United Kingdom, the draft agreement which was shown to us after the general elections is one which, in our view, would not produce the benefits that the nation could expect from such an agreement. Mauritius accordingly submitted counter-proposals to the United Kingdom so that an agreement which is in the best interest of Mauritius can be concluded. The response of the United Kingdom to our counter-proposals was received on the 16th of December 2024, and these counter-proposals were again considered by the Interministerial Committee, which I just mentioned. Therefore, on the 31st of December 2024, Mauritius submitted its response to the United Kingdom and suggested that parties meet in London in January 2025. A delegation led by the Attorney General proceeded to the United Kingdom to discuss the issues which were raised by us. The talks reached an advanced stage, and the Attorney General returned earlier than expected to brief me. As a result, a special cabinet meeting was called on the 15th of January 2025 to discuss the progress made. However, early on that day, before the cabinet meeting, we were informed by the United Kingdom that in view of the imminent change in the administration in the United States of America, they would look for the views of the new administration before signing the agreement between Mauritius and the United Kingdom on the Chagos archipelago. Notwithstanding this unilateral decision of the United Kingdom to postpone matters, a Mauritius delegation, led again by the Attorney General, went to the United Kingdom for further discussions with the UK in London on the 16th and 17th of January, as was planned. When the Attorney General met with his British counterpart, Lord Hermer, and the Under Secretary of State, Stephen Doughty, they both assured him on the commitment of the UK government to signing the agreement between Mauritius and the United Kingdom. At that stage, Mauritius and the United Kingdom had the final agreement ready to be signed. The Attorney General has kept in touch with the Foreign Office, and we are awaiting developments on the UK side. Madam Speaker, I've had a telephone conversation last Friday with the British Prime Minister on the way forward. He rang me, and the British Prime Minister informed me that he intends to push ahead with the agreement reached between Mauritius and the United Kingdom on the Chagos archipelago. We remain confident that it will reach a speedy resolution in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Having listened to the Honourable Prime Minister, I believe we understand that the stark reality is that, as at today, we do not have an agreement with the UK government. On avait cru voir la lumière au bout du tunnel avec l'accord du 3 octobre de l'année dernière, mais j'ai comme l'impression que cette lumière est en train de s'éteindre. Can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, because he mentioned that in his statement he made to the House on the 17th December last year, and he mentioned that also in his reply, that he had received response from the UK government with regard to counter-proposals that our government made. Can the Honourable Prime Minister provide the House with details of the counter-proposal?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I thought the leader of the... First of all, let me say something, because he made reference to it, that the light was darkening or whatever. The agreement that the former Prime Minister agreed with the UK was a sellout. We could not agree to it. We would never agree to it. That is something that must be clear. That is why, although we don't know we signed it. We didn't agree with it. It was so bad, I don't want to go into the details, but if you ask me, I will, that we said, no way. Sovereignty was the biggest issue. It had to be unambiguous, undiluted, that we have full sovereignty, not only on the Chagos, but including Diego Garcia. That was not in the agreement. The second point, the agreement was for an agreement for 99 years, and then unilaterally, the British would decide on an extension of that agreement for 40 years. We had no say in it. We disagreed completely. It cannot be that an agreement is signed for 99 years, and then the British on their own would decide they will renew the agreement. We have no say in it. We totally disagreed with this. We said, no, we have to have a say. Both parties must be able to discuss. And thirdly, the agreement, the package that was negotiated, that was the third issue, was very badly negotiated. So that is why we said, no, we have to renegotiate and see whether we can come to an agreement. And I'm confident that we'll come to an agreement. I must say something else, Madam Speaker. I said in my answer that unilaterally the British decided that they will want now to wait for President Trump to become president. I must say, the Deputy Prime Minister, many times, I also supported that why are we afraid of President Trump coming to as if he will tear the agreement? We find it, in fact, it was a bit better, let him have a look. If it's a good agreement, why would he not agree? Let us see. So that is the situation, Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Want another bite?
Yes, of course. The Honourable Prime Minister raised two issues which is still under discussion. Three issues, actually. The first one is with regard to sovereignty. The second one is with regard to the duration of the lease. And the third one is with regard to the financial package being proposed by the UK government. With regard to the first one, can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether there has been changes concerning the exercise of sovereign rights granted on Diego Garcia and the conditions attached to?
Yes, indeed, there have been changes. The British agreed. We insisted that the sovereignty issue is the crucial issue, is the most important, not the financial package, but the sovereignty issue. This is a battle that started long ago. Now we are about to reach it. We insisted that it be clear that we have complete sovereignty on the Chagos, including Chagos. That the British agreed to, and this has been changed.
So we understand that this has been changed. With regard to the duration of the lease, is it still 99 years now or less than 99 years?
Maybe he's not aware because all this was done in secrecy. Even the officials, Madam Speaker, were not aware what the agreement was. They went to London, but they were asked to leave the room. Only the former Prime Minister and the British Prime Minister spoke. And this is why the deal is like what it is. He had agreed to 99 years plus an extension where the British would decide themselves that they want to extend the lease and we would have to accept. This also we disagreed. We said, no, 99 years, okay. Reluctantly, okay, we agreed. But not on the extension. The extension has to be agreed with both parties. It cannot be unilateral from the British. And I'm glad to inform the Leader of the Opposition that also the British have agreed.
So this is good news, Honourable Prime Minister. Now, may I ask the Prime Minister with regard to the financial support given by the government of the UK, first to Mauritius and second to the Chagosians. Have we finalized also on that issue?
I'm not in a position to give details, but let me say something. That package was very badly negotiated. I can't understand how. It seems somebody who didn't know mathematics had negotiated, who didn't know that inflation existed, that had negotiated. They had agreed to a package that for 99 years, but not inflation-proof. But no, the exchange rate, because it's in dollars, the exchange rate would be fixed once and then on the loss in the 99 years. How can that be? Any ordinary sixth form, fifth form student would agree that inflation exists. We have to be inflation-proof. What's the point of getting money and then having half of it by the end? This is what would happen. Eh? We have made the calculation. So that also we did not agree, and we wanted also front-loading. Some of the money had to be front-loaded, and that also is being agreed to, I think.
So do I understand from the Honourable Prime Minister that now all issues have been cleared and we have an agreement with the government of UK?
That is not what the Prime Minister said, as far as I can hear. But Prime Minister, please, maybe you want to reply.
You're absolutely right, Madam Speaker. I explained that we had come to this agreement, ready to sign on that basis, but as we had said ourselves, the Deputy Prime Minister repeatedly said that President Trump is not a wolf. Let him see if the agreement is good or not good. And we also agreed. Now the British, late in the day, decided that yes, it's better to let the new administration have a look. And this is what the situation is.
Il est peut-être déguisé en loup. Il est peut-être déguisé en loup.
I'll get to President Trump later, Madam Speaker. Can I ask the Honorable Prime Minister whether Mr. Olivier Bancoult, the President of the Chagos Refugee Group, has been regularly briefed on discussions on the agreement and whether he had attended meetings chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister?
First of all, let me say that he was briefed, both by myself and the Deputy Prime Minister. I saw him even recently, and again we had spoken because he was also wondering what was happening. But he was not in the meeting. The meeting, the British decided it would be Mauritius government and the UK government.
Now, since I've mentioned Olivier Bancoult and the Chagos Refugee Group, will the Honorable Prime Minister be able to inform the House whether, with regard to resettlement and financial compensations for the Chagosians, we have reached an agreement on that issue, that is resettlement of the Chagosians on the archipelago?
We have, Madam Speaker, also there's a special fund which has been earmarked just for the Chagosians. That also is there. That was negotiation before, it is still the same. But we have also, I must also say to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, I'm going to the African Union meeting that is being held in Addis. I have asked Mr. Bancoult to accompany me because we need to tell our African brothers what is happening about the lost decolonization in Mauritius.
Yeah, let me ask a question in relation to what you have just said. You have had a phone conversation with the Honourable Prime Minister of the UK. President Trump now is in office. Do we have a time frame with regard to the issue of Chagos now?
Madam Speaker, the President has just been elected, the American President. I'm not in a position to impose a timetable on him. He will have to look at it when he has all the issues at the moment, just like we had at the very beginning, we're still having, and we will then start the negotiations or whatever.
Honourable Prime Minister, in your reply, you stated that there has been an independent review of the draft agreement by a team of legal advisors. Can you inform the House the person comprising that team?
Yes. The person, it was, of course, there was the Attorney General. Then there's a former Solicitor General, Mr. Luren Deby, was present. There was Mr. Milan Mitorban, who is a constitutionalist lawyer who knows about the problem of Chagos. There was also the civil servants from the firm, Mrs. Martin, who knows Chagos. But for legal team, you specifically was for legal team. There was the legal team here, but also I took international expert from a firm called Withers. They were advising because they know also of the problem. Remember, I'm the one who took Mr. Brownlee, QC, as the first barrister to look at Chagos. And then I'm the one who took Mr. engaged Philip Sands to continue the negotiation. So that is what we are doing.
Since you mentioned Professor Sands, can you inform the House whether he still forms part of the legal team?
We've had, I think the Attorney General had a meeting with him, but no, he's not in the legal team. We have to have a new legal team. Professor Sands was part of the team which made the previous deal. So we are looking at it with a pair of fresh eyes.
Speaker, I've put this question because Professor Sands have been dealing with this case since 2008, and as you said, you appointed him. And I understand that in this situation that the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned, Professor Sens was not informed that his services were no more required and that there was no proper handing over between Professor Sens and the new legal team.
In fact, may I tell the Honorable Leader of the Opposition that Professor Sen's contract expired on the 31st of December 2024. After that, I wrote a letter to him to thank him for his services and to keep in touch.
The honourable member from, fourth member from Port Louis North has asked. Otherwise, he won't have time because time is almost up.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Speaker, may I ask the Prime Minister? He mentioned 2 delegations going early January. May we know the composition of both delegations, the first delegation and the second delegation that went to London?
There was, as I said, there was the Attorney General, the former Solicitor General, Mr. Mitaban. I think Martin was in the first one, but not in the second one. That's it.
Okay. I've got 2 last questions. Yes, time is
Please, I'll make fast.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, the UK Foreign Secretary, in a statement to the House of Commons on the 7th of October, he said the following, that with regard to this agreement, a treaty and a bill will be submitted to the UK Parliament for scrutiny. May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister to inform the House as to the way forward for Mauritius once an agreement is reached between Mauritius and the UK? Will it be, as it is in the UK, scrutinised by Parliament?
Should have asked this question to the former Prime Minister. Why did he come to an agreement all in Katimini and nobody knew about it? Nobody knew.
You have not answered my question. Can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister to inform the House in the event that no agreement is reached or that President Trump and the US are not favourable to Mauritius obtaining sovereignty over the Chagos archipelago, what will be his next course of action?
Let us not cross the bridge before we reach the bridge. Let us reach the bridge and then we'll cross it.
I think that is the end of bon accueil. Mr. Bichuk, yes?
Madame la Présidente, B1.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Ministry of Finance that on the basis of a survey carried out, 78 special purpose vehicles had been set up over the period 2015 to 2024. And in that, it comprises 69 state-owned companies and 9 special funds. But in all 78, the outstanding debt of these state-owned companies at the end of December 2024 stood at some 33.6 billion rupees. 33.6 billion rupees. It represents 4.8% of our GDP, Madam Speaker. As for the list of the companies, including the special funds and the outstanding debt at the end of December 2024, is being tabled because it is a long list and we don't have all the information yet.
Yes, Mr. Bichuk.
Does the Honourable Prime Minister intend to come with a law regulation that would make all these SPVs accountable to Parliament, because they've been operating in total opacity till date?
This is why I tell people, some people are impatient. We need to do all this. They will have to account every penny that has been spent or stolen or whatever has to be accounted for.
Yes, yes. Honourable third member for Grand B, Poudre d'Or. Yes.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by that the Commission of Prerogative of Mercy has, for the period of from 2015 to 2024, received 7,109 petitions for grant of pardon, out of which 4,599 have been acceded to. Information indicating the names of the persons granted pardon and the offence in respect in which conviction was secured is being compiled and will be placed in the library of the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, the House will appreciate and concede that the question covers a relatively long period of time and implies compiling a list of thousands of names of convicted persons who for the past 10 years have applied to the Commission on the Prerogative of Mercy and who have benefited from its decisions. The list, as I say, will be circulated when the exercise is completed, but some indication of cases of notorious reputation have already been flagged in the media, which has provoked widespread criticism. Of these, the infamous case of one Chandra Prakash Singh Deep, found guilty in a case of fraud and sentenced to 1 year imprisonment. Here, the Commission intervened to substitute the prison sentence by a fine of 100,000 rupees, 100,000 rupees. This was a case where the Commission delivered a decision whilst a stay order of the judgment was enforced against the convicted individual, that is Mr. Dip, and it was therefore under judicial controls. Never happened before. While the judiciary says, hold on, the Commission of Prerogative of Mercy decided that no, we don't have to wait for the judiciary. And that convicted individual, as we know, happened to be the son of the former Commissioner of Police. And it was easy for the public to draw its own conclusion and express the disgust and of such an over-defiance of the judicial system. This case was another scandalous legacy left by the previous regime. And we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. That is what we have to make sure. We need now to retain two fundamental points from this state of affairs. First, this was a clear case of violation of the principle of separation of powers, whereby the powers of the judiciary have been outrageously usurped by the executive by a clique in power. This is what happened here. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. I'll keep your secrets, you keep my secrets. This is what happened. Secondly, the Commission on the Prerogative of Mercy, through its conduct, was perceived by the public as blatantly lacking independence. Again, we had very good people in the past, but this is what happened this time. It was perceived as yet another striking illustration of the decay of our public institutions under the previous regime, Madam Speaker. This episode showcases the harm which an irresponsible executive can cause to a country, going to the extent of perverting the course of justice to satiate the totalitarian state of a petty dictator. Madam Speaker, we will revisit how the Commission is set up and how it should function to prevent such a repeat of such a scandalous matter.
Yes. Honourable third member for Bubasa.
Influence of drugs is a major concern and contributes to road accidents resulting in fatalities. More and more, this is the case. In regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from the 1st of January 2024 to the 30th of January 2025, 13 drivers involved in road accident were tested positive for drugs. 2 of these accidents were fatal. I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that inquiries into the 13 cases are ongoing. As for Part B of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that several measures are being undertaken by the police to deter the use of drugs by drivers, and some of these measures are as follows. First of all, from the 1st of January, there were 2,771 public campaigns focusing on the dangers of both drink and drug driving have been carried out. They carried out in malls, in public places, traffic centers, and in schools. Secondly, delivery of lectures to private companies on safe driving and behavior on the road. Thirdly, patrols are being carried out. They have been increased on a regular basis. 3,378 targeted operations were carried out during the period January 2024 to 30th of January 2025 in order to track road traffic offenders, including those who have consumed drugs. From the 1st of January, from that time, 1,146 drivers have been booked for driving under influence of drug or intoxicating substances. Over the last weekend, some 18,258 vehicle checks were conducted, out of which 3,900 contraventions were established and 1,286 fixed penalties were issued. Furthermore, 54 drivers were tested positive for alcohol and 14 drivers positive for drug consumption. Madam Speaker, I'm also informed that the Ministry of Land Transport is in parallel conducting a sensitization campaign on the NBC TV, radio, and other media platforms on the dangers of drink and drug consumption and driving. Madam Speaker, my government is very much concerned about the overall damage caused by drugs on individuals and public at large, including road accidents and, as you said, involving drug-impaired drivers. We are committed to ensure the safety of all road users and will relentlessly fight against the scourge of drugs in our society. Government intends to have a thorough review of the whole issue of road safety and penalty points. And the penalty points will be reintroduced. They should never have been stopped. Reintroduced, but we're going to look at it in a global manner. In some places, there need not be on motorways cameras forcing drivers to suddenly brake. All this will be looked at. We're having an expert to look at this. This is what I had to say. I could also say that we're looking at people from outside to come and have a look.
Yes.
Madame la Présidente, le Premier ministre peut-il indiquer à la Chambre, de ces 13 cas qu'il a mentionnés, combien sont liés à la consommation de cannabis, combien à la consommation de drogue de synthèse et combien à la consommation de cocaïne, héroïne ou autre type de drogue?
The information I have is not detailing which drug was used, but I can say 13 were tested positive.
Président, dernière question. Le Premier ministre est certainement au courant des dégâts causés par les drogues de synthèse qui sont facilement accessibles aux jeunes dans les coins et recoins du pays. De ce fait, le gouvernement compte-t-il imposer des mesures pour que les chauffeurs de transport public qui ont la vie de milliers de Mauriciens entre leurs mains, soient systématiquement soumis à des contrôles avant de prendre la route?
Yes, as I say, we are looking at it globally. All this will happen, but may I remind the honourable member that the previous regime, look what happened. Drug erupted in the country, in schools. Young children were taking drugs. This never happened before. But anyway, whatever has happened, we're going to look at this, and I should perhaps add, we take it so seriously that we're having a special agency, and I'm appointing Mr. Sam Lutan, who knows the issue very well, as he will be like a czar for drugs. He will be in my office, but he will be the chairperson of that national agency.
Thank you, Prime Minister. The Honourable Third Member for Pamplemousses and Trioli.
The World Drug Report of 2023 warned of a proliferation of supply, demand, and use of synthetic drugs, as well as an increase in substance use disorders. As per the report, the number of people using drugs has increased by 11% globally, but by as much as 40% in Africa. That is in 2023. Madam Speaker, in response to the growing threats posed by synthetic drugs, the United States launched the Global Coalition to address synthetic drug threats aimed to accelerate international efforts to tackle this rising crisis. As part of the Global Coalition initiative, the government of the United States provided funding to the UNODC to conduct a detailed assessment of the threats posed by synthetic drugs. This project also evaluated national and regional capacities of 6 East African countries, namely Kenya, Madagascar, Seychelles, Tanzania, Uganda, and Mauritius was included in that, to implement key actions outlined in the UNODC synthetic drug strategy. A validation workshop was held from 25th to 27th September 2024 in Nairobi. This report, which has yet to be finalized, it is expected to be released in March. As part of the assessment in July 2024, the UNODC conducted a study on synthetic drugs in Mauritius, specifically in Mauritius. And some of the main findings of the UNODC report are as follows. First of all, among the 6 countries that I named, Mauritius has been identified as the leading user of synthetic cannabinoids. Mauritius is the leading one. Drug rehabilitation efforts within the public sector remain severely limited. Rehabilitation. Although methadone, this is what the report says, although methadone treatment is available, and I remind the House, methadone was introduced when I was Prime Minister. When the new government came in 2014, the minister then decided, no, methadone is not important. I know an expert from Reunion Island expressed his views on that. That is a big mistake. And then later on, they had to reintroduce the methadone. Now, it says, although methadone treatment is available, other forms of treatment remain underdeveloped and inadequate. And last, I think it says psychological support and interventions, including traditional medicine, where available, needs further strengthening. With limited resources and insufficient follow-up strategies, many individuals either fail to complete the inpatient treatment or relapse after finishing it. Madam Speaker, the threat posed by synthetic cannabis and other drugs in Mauritius was already highlighted in the Global Organized Crime Index of 2023, which measures 15 criminal markets, including drug markets across 193 member states. And in that report, out of the 193, Mauritius was ranked at the 7th place with regard to synthetic drug market, behind South Africa among this area. However, in spite of Mauritius forming part of the US Global Coalition since November 2023, the previous government allowed the situation to worsen. Nothing was done as usual. It has failed to fully leverage the benefits and resources available through the coalition to strengthen the country's response. Madam Speaker, as stated in the government program, which was just read by His Excellency the President, the fight against drug trafficking and the use will be one of the major priorities of this government. Let me reiterate the action that my government intends to take to deal with this. Additional resources will be provided to the police, not just resources, not just spending money. These people have to be trained to know how to tackle the problem, to increase their capacity to deal efficiently. Bold measures will be adopted to end the suffering of families and society in general. We also said a select committee of the National Assembly will be appointed in the near future to look into the ways and means to address this problem of drugs. Government will develop and implement a comprehensive action plan for a more efficient and effective response. The legal provisions in respect of trafficking, consumption, and treatment of drug addicts will be reviewed to cater inter alia for differentiated treatment of traffickers and consumers. And government, as I mentioned just now, will set up a national drug policy monitoring and coordination agency that will bring together various public bodies all under one roof to combat drug trafficking, provide rehabilitation and support to families of victims of drug abuse, all under one roof. This is why I mentioned, when I mentioned Mr. Sam Luton, who is former minister, to be the chairperson of this agency. We will also ensure, Madam Speaker, that actions being taken to combat the drugs are aligned with the recommendations of the UNODC report.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Yes?
Madam Speaker, can the Honourable Prime Minister advise if the said study indicate if the problem of drugs is concentrated in certain regions of Mauritius, or whether this is eating the whole of our future as a whole?
From what I see so far, Madam Speaker, it is a national problem, not just in one region, but a national problem.
Yes, thank you. The Honourable Member, fourth member for Port-Louis North and Mont Island.
B5, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for this question, as it gives me an opportunity to see what kind of shenanigans the previous regime resorted to, thereby causing untold justice and demoralizing the police force. The very important Person Security Unit is a specialized unit, as you know. In the context of filling of vacancies in that unit, officers are assigned higher duties, that is, to the next rank above their current substantive capacity for a period of 6 months. Such officers may be considered for promotion in the substantive capacity only after having satisfactorily completed the 6 months assignment. In the event they are transferred to other divisions or branches of the Mauritius Police Force during the 6 month period, the assignment of duties lapses. Now, Madam Speaker, I wish to point out that in December 2014, shortly after the new government came to power, 21 police officers posted to the very important Person Security Unit, 21, and who had been assigned higher duties, were reverted to the former ranks, 21, immediately. I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from the 10th of November 2024 to the 30th of January 2025, 47 police officers posted to that unit and who were assigned higher duties on the 24th of August 2024, that is just prior to the election, were transferred to other divisions and branches of the police force. As they were transferred before the completion of the 6 month period of that unit, the assignment of higher duties have lapsed. But I wish to inform the House and the Honourable Member that since 2015, several officers attached to the VIPSU unit have benefited from accelerated promotions, superseding other very deserving officers. Juniors were favoured over more experienced and senior officers. It was a blatant injustice to members of the police force under the previous regime. Everything was politicized. There are some very able police officers in the VIPSU. Not only their juniors went over their head, they were downgraded. What they had already received, been downgraded. And then the juniors were given accelerated promotion, 1, 2, 3, even 4 promotions during that period. These injustices, Madam Speaker, will have to be addressed and corrected.
Yes.
If you allow me 2 supplementaries on this.
Yes, please.
Yes, firstly, Madam Speaker, is the Prime Minister aware that there are police officers who have had, reckoning 27 years of service as sergeant, promoted to inspector, in fact, were appointed to the unit under his first tenure as Prime Minister? There are officers with 20 years of service appointed on your second tenure as Prime Minister, again sergeant, promoted to inspector. They've been stripped off of their promotion, the most unfairly, a few days after the Prime Minister took office.
What you should look at, I suppose the Honourable Member doesn't know. I'll just explain how injustices were performed. Now, if a police officer who has been appointed gets accelerated promotion and becomes, in other words, is senior to somebody who was already senior, who has been downgraded, we have to correct the injustice. That is what happened.
I'm sure the Prime Minister will realize that 27 years as a sergeant promoted to inspector is not accelerated.
This is not a question.
Yes. Madam Speaker, the question is, the Prime Minister recalls the 21 VIPSUs being promoted in 2014. This is why the Prime Minister gave the assurance on the 22nd of September at Triolet in a meeting on his own volition that he gave the guarantee that no police officers would be transferred and stripped of promotions, and that same had happened to him. He gave that word, and yet a few days later, after being elected, these poor police officers have been stripped of their promotion. My question is to the Prime Minister, whether in considering his own word that has been given prior to the election, he will not remedy the injustice that he has himself been aware of prior to that.
But the honorable member doesn't say. Not all the police officers who had a promotion are being stripped out. Not all. I mentioned the figures here. But when we are looking at what has happened, we have to take corrective measures. And I'm telling you one thing, I will not stand for injustice in the police force. We have to correct the injustices that happened. It happened, unfortunately for them.
One last one, yes.
Madam Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister might at least, for those officers, again, that haven't had fast promotions tracking, that haven't jumped ahead of their junior colleagues, more senior colleagues, if at least he could give consideration to those officers to restore their promotion. As I said, at least 2 cases of those appointed under you to the VIPSU have been promoted recently and stripped of. Whether he will at least give consideration to cases that look to be genuine.
I'll give you an example to the honorable member. He keeps saying appointed under me. Do you know that one of the VIPSU who was in the car behind me, who I promoted through the police, discipline forces, he was given that promotion to be behind the Prime Minister. It's a great privilege. Do you know what he did? He is the one who went and told the MSM leaders that the police didn't do proper search in my home. There's another safe. The police came through his declaration. He went to see the then Commissioner of Police and the former Prime Minister. And they came to my home. They had already turned my home upside down. Everywhere. All the drawers had been thrown, everything upside down. They came again. I asked the policeman, why are you coming again? You've done this job 2 days ago. He said, I can't tell you, but I will tell you in a minute. He didn't want to say in front of other people. And then he told me, the guy who was in your car, you had promoted. This is what he has done. And do you want me to just stay quiet and say, okay, Jaide? No, sir. This is gone. We will take action. We will take action. I know who he is. But we will take action. We have to correct these injustices and these traitors. They have a duty to be with the former Prime Minister. With me at the time I was former Prime Minister, and this is what they did. And you think I will just sit down and accept? No, I will not.
Your next question.
B6.
B6.
I shall reply to parliamentary question B6 and B15 together as they relate to the same issue. Madam Speaker, I thank the honourable member again for giving me the opportunity of informing the House of recent developments in connection with the very, very disturbing practices resorted to by the last government to spy on our citizens, everyone. You will be shocked. In view of the importance of this matter, Madam Speaker, I crave your indulgence and that of the House for taking a little bit more time to give a comprehensive reply. Madam Speaker, the protection of the freedom of expression of any person is enshrined in Section 12 of our Constitution. Let me quote Section 12 of the Constitution. Except with his own consent, no person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression, that is to say, freedom to hold opinions and to receive and import ideas and information without interference and freedom from interference with his correspondence. It is therefore crystal clear, Madam Speaker, that phone tapping constitutes a breach of our fundamental human rights and is particularly an intrusion onto the right of privacy. Now, the whole nation was shocked. I'm sure some members of the opposition too might have been shocked when it came to know in October of last year, through the Moustache leaks, that private telephone conversations of individuals, key government officials, political opponents, as well as even members of the judiciary, diplomatic missions, were being listened to by the MSM government. As soon as I became Prime Minister, I considered that it was an urgent priority to investigate the nature and extent of the surveillance, to investigate the techniques and activities employed by the previous regime to spy on its own citizens and to take swift action to render them inoperable. I tell people, many people are impatient. We have priority. This is a priority. I had to stop this phone bugging as I'm listening to people's conversation. To be absolutely sure that this was being done. On dit, le chat ne boit pas du chaud deux fois. Ça m'est arrivé avant. So to be absolutely sure that this was being done, I invited international experts, real experts, to carry out a thorough investigation together with senior members of the police force and the Commissioner of Police. I have to inform the House that the results of these preliminary investigations have been nothing short of shocking. The initial conclusions are as follows. And as I said, they're breathtaking, to say the least. I haven't shared this with most people except the Deputy Prime Minister. The MSM government, believe it or not, Madam Speaker, did not only do phone tapping of certain high-profile members of the opposition, or even, as I say, even its own ministers, even its own allies, including the PMSD. They were listening. What happened to you with the car accident? All this they have listened to. Who said who to tell you to do this, not to do that? All this, I can tell you. They even went further, Madam Speaker. This is what is more shocking even. Even that is shocking. But they conducted mass surveillance. Mass surveillance. They had multiple sites, not one site, multiple sites where this was being done. What this means, Madam Speaker, that the government, the last government, put in place systems to monitor and intercept calls and internet traffic in the country. This is what's called mass interception. Let me quote what the experts say. The system put in place, I'm quoting, is a highly sophisticated mass monitoring tool for state surveillance of the people of Mauritius. In other words, what I'm saying, it's not just me or the Deputy Prime Minister or members of the opposition. Everyone, including allies, including ministers, including members of the judiciary. This means that every mobile conversation, I'm putting stress on every mobile conversation, every landline call, every post on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Signal, on TikTok, every email, everyone I'm saying, not just us, everyone was being monitored by the government. Do you realize what this means? It's a massive, massive monitoring. Every piece of digital data communicated by a citizen to every other citizen in this country was diverted. Everything you're saying was diverted to this government system for storage and subsequent analysis and exploitation. And exploitation. When Judah came and approached the leader of the PMSD, he says through this, that they knew what was happening. The system had the capacity to intercept and store all communications on the island. All. Not just some select cases. All. Journalists as well. Journalists as well. All this cost a lot of money, and of course, it was the public that was paying, not them, public. As our nation was groaning, was suffering under financial strain, on facing, each one had a problem in each household, we know, the cost of living. What were they and the headmen engaged upon? Spying on all the Mauritians, all of them. All the people you see here have been on the phone, including you, Madam Speaker. Everyone. Even if you were not in politics, where you were being listened to. So for the cost, We have uncovered, so far, uncovered payments in connection with these systems. Listen to this carefully. You know how much? Over $110 million for this system. People are complaining about the cost of living. They're having difficulty to make ends meet. Here the government, the previous regime spent, so far I said, it's probably going to be more, $110 billion US dollars spent on this. A company based in Dubai, I'll name it, Petzl, named in Dubai, was being paid to service the system, the equipment. How much do you think? How much could servicing a system cost? I'll tell you, $7.5 million per year. How is that possible? How can you spend millions of dollars? What it means is that some of that money went into the pockets of some people. That's what it means, because it can't cost that much. I'm sure all members of this House, every Mauritian, will feel as I do. When I learned of this, a sense of revulsion and disgust at what the priorities of the previous government, of the MSM and its leader were. These were the priorities. And now they're jumping, they think they will get elected again. I should add, Madam Speaker, that when international experts, who, as I said, were accompanied by the Mauritius Police Force, sought to establish what information had been gathered, they found that the stations had been wiped clean. And when wiped clean? We know. As the results of the election were coming in, this is when they were cleaning everything. It shows to me that they thought they will win the election. I don't know in what tower they were living. But when they realized that they're losing the election, while people started with their flags, very happy that we have been relieved of these maggots, here they are cleaning their mess. They were wiping clean everything. But let me give a word of warning, because this is being done other places too. We are aware. We are aware of what's happening at the State Bank. For example, we are aware of a few other places. Let me give a word of warning, Madam Speaker. The experts, they are real experts. Whatever you clean, they will be able to retrieve the information. They are able. That's why I know. Information that have been cleaned, supposedly. We know now. We have them. We will identify those who destroy evidence. As the Attorney General and other lawyers know, it is a criminal offense, and it carries heavy penalties. They think they will wipe out and we will not know. I can assure the House, they will have to bear the consequences of the deeds. They will feel the full force of the law, and we will see whether we don't have to strengthen the law for these people. I agree, we will have to. In fact, by attempting to destroy evidence, they are worsening the situations. They have been warned, take your responsibility. If you want to go and destroy evidence, go and destroy it if you want. We will get the evidence. I'm pretty sure of that now. Madam Speaker, the task of sifting through this squalid rubble and debris left by this mafiosi regime, which was utterly devoid of moral scruples, who ignored what the Constitution said, we will continue until the whole truth is known to the nation. As far as for the last part of the question, I can tell the House and the whole nation that I've asked an end to be put to the secret surveillance installed by these undemocratic and perverse groups, which have practiced a blatant state capture and confiscated our liberty. This is what the election was about, liberty and unity. This should never be allowed to happen again. I can confirm what the experts said, and I'm quoting, all equipment have been catalogued, shut down, and disconnected. The system is now disabled. nobody is going to listen to what you say. I can assure you. There will, under this government, never be any restoration of mass interception of mass. Never. I can tell you, both of us have been prime minister. I'm prime minister again. The deputy prime minister has been prime minister. I can tell you, I was in the opposition. I became prime minister afterwards. Neither of us ever did this on democratic principle. We never spied on the opponents. Neither he nor me. And we were not together at the time. As these experts describe it, what was being done, and this is also important. They were using the most sophisticated technological equipment for eavesdropping, but they were also making use of the cameras. We've said, remember Osman Mohammed said the camera was pointing at his home. And Sani Root said, well, close your window. The 4th Street were 4 cameras. Only one exit, but 4 cameras. They were using that, and they were using the cameras to monitor. In other words, they knew not only what you were seeing, what you were saying on the phone, but also your movements. That also was being monitored. A mass monitoring tool for state surveillance of every citizen in this country. This is what was happening. Madam Speaker, this government will not be deflected from seeking out the truth and bringing to justice and making accountable to the law those who are responsible for just despicable acts. I can tell the House, I will update the House once I get further report. I'm even prepared to lay the report on the table of the Assembly so that you can see with your eyes what was happening to our country.
I will, honourable members, time is already up, but in view of the importance of the question, of course, I didn't stop the Prime Minister, so I will also allow one question.
Just one. If you might allow 2, because I have 2 parliamentary questions coming.
Just one.
Well, I'll put it all together then. The Prime Minister said on the 20th of January that he hasn't received assurances that there might not be other systems in use right now, and therefore this is very serious. Not only what the Prime Minister has described as un outil de surveillance massif officiellement installé, but also it appears that the own Prime Minister's line has been taken and subsequently leaked. Is the Prime Minister not now of the opinion that this, perhaps the most important matter regarding privacy, regarding secrets of the Mauritian state, safeguarding those secrets, given that he cannot say if those equipments are still being used according to his interview on the 20th. My question is, the Honourable Prime Minister, that doesn't he deem fit to instate a commission of inquiry to shed the light on, first of all, who has ordered for this system to be put in place? Secondly, the funds that have been paid. Thirdly, who have kept copies of what? Because of what we understand, the data has been deleted. And we must know, yes, the question is, it appears that the data has not been kept in one place and that many persons, more than one, may still have that data because same has been leaked during the campaign. Therefore, the question is, does he not see it as a matter of urgency to set up a commission of inquiry which has already been set up by the previous government and to urgently shed all the light on this whole saga, which, do not forget, has put you in power?
We were put in power.
Members, let the Prime Minister speak.
Madam Speaker, we were put in power because people in this country felt in their guts what was happening and they voted for liberty. Liberty. That's what they voted for. And unity. Because the communal campaign went as well, but nobody cared. Mauritians are Mauritians. Un peuple admirable, comme on dit. But I answered the question that you asked. That I have made sure international experts precisely what I said in January. This is precisely why I got international experts, real experts in the matter, to look at the whole matter and to, I've even quoted what they said, that the system has been disbanded. But as you say, that is why I say it's a preliminary investigation. We can't say at the moment who has got what that they've kept. We will know. Unless they leave the country for good, we will know. If they're here, we will know. These people, you know, Madam Speaker, it's like the scums of the earth. That's what we're dealing with. We ought to rub their face in the gutter where they belong.
Members, time is up now for PMQT. Please, may I speak? I just want to... Honorable Deputy Prime Minister. May I speak? Otherwise I'll have to shout, which I do not want to do. Under PMQT, question B12 and B16 have been withdrawn, okay? Now we proceed with questions addressed to honourable ministers.